Alright, so picture this. You're 16 years old just trying to get through high school, deal with classes, maybe hang out with friends, normal teenager stuff. Except your life has this massive, gaping hole where a father is supposed to be. Not just any father, but one who actively chose to be absent, who ditched your mom when she was pregnant with you, and then spent the next 16 years doing everything possible to avoid being a parent, even landing himself in jail multiple times for it. You've never even met the guy. 16 years and not even a picture, not a phone call, nothing. He's basically a ghost story your mom had to live through. And then, out of absolutely nowhere, his past catches up to you in the form of his secret daughter. The one he had with the woman he cheated on your mom with. And suddenly she's not just at your school, she's actively trying to force her way into your life, following you around, even showing up in almost all your classes. Yeah, it sounds like a messed up movie plot, but this is actually happening. The title of this story really says it all. I never met my father for 16 years, now his secret daughter is following me at school. And the question I ended up asking the internet was, am I the asshole for requesting that my teacher not partner me with my deadbeat father's daughter? Let me break down how it all went sideways. So the backstory here is pretty rough, not gonna lie. My dad, or sperm donor, whatever you want to call him, was married to my mom for about 5 years. Sounds normal, right? Except he was apparently cheating on her constantly. When my mom got pregnant with me, that was basically his cue to exit stage left. He just walked out, poof, gone, and it wasn't just a simple breakup. They had recently moved, making the whole divorce process an absolute nightmare for my mom. She was pregnant, alone in a new place, trying to legally untangle herself from a guy who couldn't care less. And when I say he couldn't care less, I mean it. He was a complete no-show for everything. Divorce court? Nope. Custody hearings? Didn't bother. Child support? That became his life's mission to avoid. Seriously, this guy went to extraordinary lengths to dodge paying child support. We're talking quitting jobs deliberately so his income couldn't be garnished. We're talking moving without telling the courts where he was going. It got so bad that he actually ended up in jail. Not once, not twice, but 3 separate times specifically for failing to pay child support and actively trying to hide his employment. Think about that level of dedication to not being a father. It's almost impressive in a really twisted, pathetic way. My entire childhood was defined by his absence and the financial struggle he put my mom through. She worked incredibly hard to make sure I had everything I needed, but his refusal to contribute, his active evasion, cast a long shadow. And me, I grew up without him. Like I said, 16 years and I have never laid eyes on the man. He's a complete stranger. I wouldn't know him if I passed him on the street. He never made any attempt, never showed any interest. He was just gone, the ghost father. Then about a year ago, the ghost decided to materialize. Not directly to me, of course. That would require some level of actual effort or maybe even courage. No, he moved back to the area with his new family. The family he started with the woman he was cheating on my mom with, the affair partner and their kids. Suddenly, they were just here, living somewhere nearby. It felt surreal knowing this man who played such a significantly negative role in my life purely by his absence and neglect was now breathing the same town air. And that's when she appeared. His daughter, my half-sister, I guess. It feels weird even saying that. She's only 5 months younger than me, which tells you everything you need to know about the timeline of his affair and departure. There's also a son, about a year and a half younger than me, and apparently some other younger kids too, but I don't know their ages. I only know about the older two because, surprise, surprise, they ended up at my high school. Last year, the daughter was in one of my classes, just one. It was awkward, sure, but manageable. I knew who she was, she probably knew who I was, but we didn't interact much. But she had other ideas. She started trying to connect with me, approaching me in the hallways, trying to strike up conversations, and I shut it down, politely but firmly. I told her straight up I wasn't interested, we're not family. My family is my mom, the woman who raised me, who fought for me, who went through hell because of her father. I don't want anything to do with the affair family, the replacement family he chose over us. I made it clear. I thought she'd get the message. She did get upset. She actually cried a little bit right there in front of me. And maybe a part of me felt a tiny bit bad, but mostly I just felt angry and exhausted. Angry that I was even being put in this position. Angry that this girl, a living symbol of my father's betrayal, thought she could just waltz into my life and expect a relationship. Exhausted because I just wanted to be left alone, to live my life without this constant reminder of the father who never wanted me. But did she give up after I made her cry? Nope, not even close. She seemed to take it as a challenge. When school started again this past August, things escalated. Suddenly, she wasn't just in one of my classes anymore. She was in 4 of them, 4 out of my whole schedule. Now, maybe it was a coincidence, but given her persistence last year, it felt incredibly deliberate. It felt like she was engineering ways to be around me to force interaction. And honestly, it felt like harassment. I was already uncomfortable knowing she was in the school, but having her in almost half my classes, seeing her face day after day, knowing the history, it was too much. I felt trapped, cornered in my own school environment. That's when I decided I had to do something proactive. I couldn't control her schedule, but maybe I could control how much I had to directly interact with her. One of the teachers whose class we now shared assigns a ton of group projects and partner work. It's a big part of the grade. The thought of being forced to work closely with her, potentially for multiple projects throughout the year, made my stomach turn, so I went to the teacher. I waited after class one day and asked if I could speak to her privately. I was nervous, not sure how she'd react, but I knew I had to try. I explained the situation as calmly as I could. I told her about my father, his absence, the affair, how this girl was his daughter from that affair, and how I had absolutely no relationship with her and didn't want one. I explained that her presence was already difficult for me, and being forced to work together on projects would be incredibly stressful and likely hostile. I emphasized that it wasn't just about me. It would probably make things awkward and unproductive for any other students in our group too. The teacher listened patiently. She looked surprised, maybe even a little shocked. I guess it's not every day a student comes to you with a story like that, but thankfully she was understanding. She agreed that forcing us to work together probably wasn't a good idea and could definitely lead to unnecessary conflict. She promised she would make sure we were never assigned as partners or put in the same small group for any projects. She said it would be best for everyone involved to just avoid that potential hostility. I felt this huge wave of relief wash over me. It was like a weight lifted. Someone understood. Someone was willing to help me maintain this boundary that was so important to me. And the teacher, bless her, she stuck to her word. But that didn't stop the half-sister from trying. Twice now, since that conversation, she has actively tried to make me her partner or pull me into her group during class activities. The first time it was a partner assignment, and she literally walked over and told the teacher, "He's my partner." The teacher just looked at her and said, "No, actually you'll be working with Sarah today," and assigned me to someone else. The second time it was for a larger group project, and she tried to claim me for her group, telling the teacher, "He's joining our group." Again, the teacher shut it down immediately, saying, "No, he's already assigned to this group over here." Those two public refusals from the teacher must have clued her in. She must have realized it wasn't just bad luck. It was intentional. She figured out that I had gone to the teacher and specifically requested not to work with her. And apparently that did not sit well with her or her parents. Because the next thing I know, she goes home and tells her parents, including my deadbeat father, the man I've never met, what happened. And what do? They don't reflect on why their daughter might be making someone uncomfortable. They don't consider the decades of neglect and abandonment. Nope, they immediately go on the offensive. They contacted the school principal and demanded a meeting, not just with the principal but with me and my mom. They wanted to confront us. My mom, thankfully, is a rock star. When the school called about the meeting request, she agreed to go, but she told them flat out that I would not be attending. She explained the entire backstory to the principal, the abandonment, the child support evasion, the fact that I'd never even met my father. She told the principal, very clearly, that she did not think the very first time I ever laid eyes on my father should be in a forced meeting where his sole purpose was to berate me for not wanting to be partners with the daughter he had with his affair partner. Can you imagine meeting your father for the first time ever just so he can yell at you for setting a boundary with his other kid? It's insane. So my mom went to the meeting alone to face him and his wife. I wasn't there, but mom told me all about it afterward. Apparently they didn't hold back. They tried to paint me as the villain. They accused me of bullying their daughter. Bullying? For asking a teacher not to force us together after she deliberately put herself in 4 of my classes despite me telling her I wanted no contact. They actually had the audacity to demand consequences for my supposed bullying. They told the principal I should either face suspension from school or, get this, be forced into some kind of buddy program with their daughter to make it up to her. A buddy program. Like we're 5 years old and need to be forced to play nice in the sandbox. It's absolutely ludicrous. They wanted to punish me for reacting to a situation they created through years of neglect and recent boundary stomping. Luckily, the principal, while maybe not taking it as seriously as he should have initially, didn't buy their nonsense about bullying or the ridiculous buddy program idea. He basically heard them out, heard my mom's side, and didn't take any action against me. My mom said she handled it well, stayed calm but firm, and laid out the facts. She didn't let them intimidate her or twist the narrative. Afterward, to kind of de-stress from the whole ordeal, she took me out for pizza and ice cream. She knew how messed up the whole situation was and just wanted to make sure I felt supported. And I did. Knowing she had my back, that she went in there and defended me against him, it meant everything. But the meeting, even though it didn't result in me getting suspended or forced into fake friendship, definitely had consequences. It seems like telling them what I did just poured gasoline on the fire. Since that meeting a couple of weeks ago, the atmosphere at school has gotten way more tense. The half-sister and her brother, the one who's about a year and a half younger than me, have started staring at me. A lot. Like intense, uncomfortable, trying to intimidate me stares whenever they see me in the halls or in the classes we share. It's creepy and unsettling. And it's not just them. A couple of the half-sister's friends have also decided to get involved. They actually came up to me, cornered me near my locker, and told me I was such a dick for embarrassing her like that in class by having the teacher refuse her partnership attempts. They said I was awful for not wanting to get to know her. Embarrassing her. What about the embarrassment and pain their family history has caused me and my mom for 16 years? What about her deliberately ignoring my request for space and basically stalking my class schedule? Apparently, none of that matters. In their eyes, I'm the bad guy for simply wanting to be left alone by the daughter of the man who abandoned me before I was even born. So after all that, dealing with the unwanted attention, the teacher intervention, the ridiculous meeting demand, the staring, the name-calling from friends, I started to wonder. Was I actually in the wrong here? Was I being unreasonable? I mean, she's just a kid too, right? Maybe she genuinely just wanted a connection. But then I thought about the context, the history, the deliberate way she infiltrated my classes, the way her parents immediately jumped to attack mode. It just didn't feel right. It felt like they were trying to force something, to rewrite history, to make me accept a family connection that was built on betrayal and abandonment. So, I did what a lot of people do when they're confused and need perspective. I went online. I wrote out the whole story on Reddit, on the Am I the Asshole subreddit, and asked the internet, AITA for requesting that my teacher not partner me with my deadbeat father's daughter. The response was overwhelming and incredibly validating. Almost universally, people said NTA, not the asshole. Reading through the comments was like getting a huge weight lifted off my chest. People understood. They saw the situation for what it was. A kid trying to protect himself from unwanted contact stemming from a deeply painful family history initiated by a neglectful parent. Commenters pointed out that my father forfeited any right to dictate my relationships or demand my time the moment he walked out and spent 16 years avoiding responsibility. They emphasized that family isn't just about blood, it's about who shows up, who supports you, who respects your boundaries. And this girl, while maybe not directly responsible for her father's actions, is still part of the affair family, the family he chose instead of me and my mom. My refusal to engage wasn't bullying, it was self-preservation. People were appalled by the parents' behavior, especially the father. Demanding a meeting to berate the son he never met, accusing me of bullying, trying to force a buddy program. Commenters called it manipulative, narcissistic, and completely out of line. They saw it as an attempt to control the narrative and force me into accepting a relationship I clearly didn't want, likely to make themselves feel better or look better. Some even speculated about the father's motives. Maybe he was suddenly interested because he was scared of his past actions being exposed now that he was back in town. Or maybe he wanted something, though the idea of needing a bone marrow transplant came up. I shut that down, there's no indication of that. Whatever the reason, his sudden attempt to insert himself and his daughter into my life after 16 years of silence was seen as incredibly selfish. The comments also provided some really crucial practical advice, which I desperately needed because the staring and the comments from friends felt like they were escalating into actual harassment. People stressed the importance of documentation. They told me to write down every single incident, when it happened, where it happened, who was involved, the half-sister, the half-brother, the friends, and exactly what was said or done. Keep a log, dates, times, locations, witnesses, if any. This creates a paper trail. Then they advised reporting it formally to the school administration, specifically in writing, like via email. This creates an official record that the school was notified. Following up with a phone call or in-person meeting is good too, but having that written record is key. They warned that the principal's initial, not taking it seriously, response wasn't good enough and that continued documented harassment needed a stronger response from the school. Some commenters even suggested that if the school failed to act and the harassment continued or got worse, involving the police might be necessary, especially if it started feeling threatening. It was also kind of comforting, in a sad way, to read comments from others who had similar experiences with deadbeat parents, child support evasion, and the long-term consequences of abandonment. It made me feel less alone in this bizarre situation. One commenter shared a chilling story about a school forcing students into a buddy program with someone who later became a school shooter, which really put the principal's initial dismissal and the parents' demand into a terrifying perspective. It highlighted how forcing interactions between unwilling parties, especially when there's underlying hostility or trauma, can be incredibly dangerous and irresponsible. People also picked up on details I'd added in the comments. They were glad my mom handled the meeting so well and that we had our pizza and ice cream debrief, small acts of support that mean the world. They were particularly incensed that the half-sister had intentionally enrolled in 4 of my classes, seeing it as a clear sign of boundary pushing, not an innocent desire to connect. They also confirmed that the teacher who agreed not to partner us did the right thing and praised her for now monitoring the situation and alerting other teachers. Having allies within the school system, even just one teacher initially, felt significant. And the child support situation got some attention too. I mentioned in the comments that after years of evasion and jail time, my father is actually paying child support now. But he owes so much in back payments arrears that those payments are legally mandated to continue until I'm about 22 years old. 16 years of dodging responsibility doesn't just disappear. It was another layer that showed just how deep the neglect ran, and commenters agreed that him suddenly showing up now, demanding things, felt even more hypocritical given that history. He wasn't just absent emotionally. He was absent financially, forcing my mom to carry the entire burden. Reading all of that, the validation, the advice, the shared experiences really solidified things for me. It wasn't just in my head. My feelings were valid. My boundaries were necessary. And the behavior from my father, his wife, and now his kids and their friends was absolutely unacceptable. So where does that leave me now? Well, I'm standing my ground. This whole ordeal, as stressful and messed up as it is, has taught me a lot about boundaries. It's shown me that you have the right to decide who gets access to your life regardless of blood ties. Family isn't an obligation you're born into. It's something built on mutual respect, love, and support. My father and his affair family haven't earned any place in my life, and I don't owe them one just because we share some DNA. The advice to document everything was golden. I've started keeping a detailed log of every stare, every comment, every time they try to approach me or make me feel uncomfortable. If this continues, I have evidence to take back to the principal, and this time, I expect a more serious response. Knowing that the teacher is aware and monitoring things in her class is also a relief. Having even one adult at school who understands the situation makes a difference. The child support situation is just a constant background reminder of the financial damage he caused. Knowing those payments will continue until I'm 22, because he evaded his responsibility for so long, just reinforces my decision to keep my distance. It's not about the money itself, it's about the principle. He wasn't there financially or emotionally for 16 years. He doesn't get to just show up now and demand a relationship or dictate how I should feel about his other daughter. My mom remains my biggest supporter. Her handling of that meeting, her unwavering defense of me, it showed me what real family looks like. It's about protection, understanding, and showing up even when it's hard. We're a team, her and I, forged through the adversity he created. The harassment is ongoing, unfortunately. The stares continue, and I still feel on edge walking through the halls sometimes. The half-sister's friends haven't approached me again directly, but the tension is still there. It sucks that my school environment, a place where I should feel safe, has become a source of anxiety because of them. But I refuse to let them intimidate me into backing down or feeling guilty. I did nothing wrong. I simply asked for a reasonable boundary to be respected, a boundary made necessary by 16 years of abandonment. This whole experience has been a harsh lesson in toxic family dynamics. It's shown me that sometimes, the people who are supposed to care about you the most can be the source of the most pain, and that protecting yourself often means drawing firm lines, even if it causes conflict. It's not easy, and it's definitely not fair that I have to deal with the consequences of my father's actions from nearly 2 decades ago. But I'm learning that my peace of mind is worth fighting for. I have the right to choose who is in my life, and I choose my mom, my friends, and the people who actually respect me. The ghost father and his unwanted family, they can stay ghosts. I'm not the asshole for wanting peace after 16 years of absence. I'm just a kid trying to live his life, finally standing up for himself. And that's exactly what I'll keep doing.